Hey Trance family, Brandon Beatty Trance here. Welcome to the 11th video in our series where we're putting together an uplifting trance track completely from scratch, guys, in Ableton Live. Just to review, in the last video, we took a little bit of time to focus on our buildup. That's sort of the 8-bar loop right before the drop. We took some time to add snare drums in here and just create a little moment. This is a moment you want to focus on. So we'll definitely come back to this like towards the end of the track and really iron it out, but give you a preview of what it looks like. Okay. Okay. Snare drum. Cool. I actually almost hear maybe like a kick drum in that little extra bar that we added here. So maybe like doing like a little shuffle here or something. Maybe if it goes like a boom, boom, boom. Something like that. So, and that's where we can get a little creative. We'll just put that as a placeholder for now. Just give you an idea. Like you could put like vocals here. You could do a lot with this little extra bar there. And anyways, in this video, I wanted to start focusing on the pads and working on the break where the pads are going to play out. And we actually didn't add that in. So that's my fault, guys. When we were arranging the track, I forgot to add a nice space for the pads to have time to evolve and play the chords. And you don't have to do this. Like you could just transition from the first part of your song, transition to the next part just kind of instantly and drop into the supersaw playing. You could also add a space here, okay? And in that space, we could play the pad. So what we're going to do here, we're going to add 2 more loops of 8 bars. So 16 bars total we're adding before the supersaw comes in. Ableton, we're just going to highlight that much space, press duplicate time. We're going to go to that duplicated area. I'm just going to clean it up, take out the saws because I don't want the lead playing here. And this should be airy when I put this in. Okay. Very good. And we even want to create a small buildup into the supersaw. So we'll listen to what that sounds like. All right. So there's space for pads here, definitely. See, so we're going to use that area to build up to the supersaw. So let's just move this locator there, the theme. We're going to name this one pad break. And this is a little bit different than the break that we have here because this is going to be a sustained note. We're going to hold down sort of the root note. And then by here, the pads are going to break away from the root note and start playing those chords. So let's go ahead to our piano, scroll, pull up those chords that we created earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and add about 3 MIDI lanes, okay, to the bottom of our project here. I'm going to group 2 of them together. And this is going to be our pad bus, okay? So we'll go ahead and rename that. So pad bus. Okay, we want a saw pad, like a classic sort of trance saw pad. And then we want to do a some type of like high pad. And then we definitely want to do a bass pad. And that's a sustained note, okay, in the bass range. That's going to fill out that sub bass area. For when the sub bass comes out, we can use a sub pad to create like a contrasting bass. So let's go ahead to our best friend Spire here, drop a couple spires in to each of these. And again, we're going to grab our chords. Let's play them in Spire. Turn all of these down so you don't blow your eardrums out because these tend to be very loud. So I've pulled them down about 20 decibels. I think I'm going to change these chords up just to make them a little more stable. Like when I'm in this F chord, instead of sustaining the E, I'm just going to go ahead and move it up to the F. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah. I do like that. Creates a little variation instead of sustaining it like we did there. Now this one, I think I hear it going higher over here. So I think at the C chord, I'm going to move up to the high G. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I do like when it goes up there. And then we're going to kind of bring it down. And this is a G. Let's see, maybe like this. Oops. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. Oops, we've got to bring that F up. So let's hear it one more time. Almost. We're almost there. What is missing here? I think for this G note, maybe we bring it down to the B. Yeah, maybe we should keep it the same chord. Let's see. Does that work? Yeah, I think that works. All right. So we just kind of smoothed out that pad a little bit. I like it. It's a little bit more melodic and airy. Okay. So once you have a nice pad chord progression going, we can start surfing through some of our presets. Now for this first one, I'm definitely going to look for something that is more of a trance pad. And usually it'll say something like Saul's or trance. Sometimes there's some good clues when you're dealing with a like Sauli. Okay. This one I might boost up an octave. My only issue with that one is the mod wheel isn't set up to do the filtering that we need. Let's see if we... Okay, so we can just use this filter and we'll just automate that. Okay. Let's pull up the pad here. And it was Spire. Oh, it's down here, sorry. So maybe here we're going to start the pad filtered low, and we're going to keep opening it up. Keep bringing it up, and then we can start fading it out when it gets closer to the where the lead's going to come in. Oh, I didn't align this correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead and duplicate these into the high pad section, and here we could even add maybe like a higher melody. So let's see what happens if we add like a... So this first chord is an A, so we could even add like a high C. That A. That's right. I forgot we boosted this an octave. Yeah, that's like a common sort of melody you might hear in this one. So maybe we'll pull out the middle notes here. And we could pull out the bass notes in this pad. Okay, again, just to kind of keep making space, just so that things kind of layer nicely, weave together. Okay, and so let's just pull up like a nicer, like some kind of airy pad, something a little different. Yeah, that's nice, right? And then when we add that with our saw pad, So does this one fade in if we use the... Well, the mod wheel does something, but let's see. Yeah, so again, same thing. We'll just grab the filter cutoff. Like, some of these pads aren't really set up to do like the filtering we need, so you might just have to grab the filter cutoff and automate that like literally on its own. And so again, so we'll start this pad kind of closed and we'll open the filter. And we'll follow the same contour. And really, I should have moved this over. Okay, so the automation lined up. There we go. Yeah, we'll start fading it out right here. Okay. It's probably fading out a little too much, so we'll just do that because we do want to sustain it. Okay, so let's hear how that sounds in context in that spot with the little build up and stuff like that, and how does it sound when it transitions back to the lead. And then at some point, you know, we probably want the lead to kind of do a solo for about 8 minutes, or sorry, not 8 minutes, 8 bars. And then we're going to bring the pads back in. So let's see what that sounds like. And you know what, real quick, before we add everything in, let's just remember to put a little bit of basic EQ and processing. So we're going to just check this pad, see how loud it is. So it's way too loud. We're going to bring it down about 12 decibels. And then that means we can actually bring the fader channel up about 12 decibels. So now we're back to like -12. We're going to check our levels on the mix bus. I think -15 seems to be sort of the ballpark where we want the pad to sit. Okay. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, filtering, right? We're gonna put our fab filter on here. And there's a lot of bass notes and energy in this pad, so we definitely want to cut out everything sort of below 250 or so. Maybe 225. Yeah, that sounds right. And same deal with this high pad. Okay, we're gonna go again, drop the fab filter, put our Britson channel in there, see. Okay, now what's going on with this pad? Okay, so that's like the highest we can bring the cutoff, because otherwise it starts squealing for some reason. So always check your stuff. Always check your stuff in solo. You know, make sure like nothing weird's happening. Okay, so we're gonna pull this back about 6 decibels. Terrific. All right, and then we're gonna pull up the bass pad, and we can just pull in this chord progression, but we're gonna leave just the bass notes. We're gonna take everything else out, so just the core notes of our, oh sorry, make sure you're grabbing the one with the full pad. We're just going to leave the core bass notes. So it's going to go A, F, C, G, and we're going to pull up a bass pad. Okay, and get some sub bass frequencies in there. And make sure this is sitting on the right note. You might have to drop this one low. And for this, I do have like a specific patch that I use. I think it's in my favorites. So this, again, this is where you got to kind of know your sound banks and stuff. Yeah, this one's literally called bass pad. So I might actually have to bring this one up an octave. Yeah. Again, we can do the same thing, put our Britson channel in here, make sure it's hovering around 0. And this is another one. If you don't have like a super good sound system, or you're listening on really tiny headphones, you got to pull up span to really see this. So we're going to solo it. So it's kind of sitting in that sub bass range where we had we wanted to match basically where the sub bass is. So again, let's pull up this section of the music where we have our sub bass, right? So that bass pad should be sitting around 54 as well. Let's go to this section. Okay, pull up span. So it's way too quiet, so we're gonna pull that guy up. Cool. So we're just gonna put it through a little bit of processing. Again, we're gonna put fab filter on it, cut off some of the low end, just kind of maintain, sorry, cut off some of the high end, maintain the low end. We'll just kind of put a filter there at 20, a low pass filter, probably around 250 range, 225. Good. That sounds good. And then we should compress it. So we're going to grab our, just whatever compressor you like to use. Again, I like to use this Vertigo one just because everything's kind of clicks into place. You don't have to think too hard about it. Yeah, auto release. I think how you drop it in is like perfect for this type of sound. Good. It's catching some of those peaks. We're just going to put our gain, makeup gain in there. Try to hit like 2 or 3 decibels of compression. You don't have to like squash it, okay? Just to catch some of those peaks. You know, 1 decibel to 3 decibels of compression is sort of enough. All right, so let's see how that comes in with the pads. And again, this is where we can also pull up, span, and mix in the pads. So you're going to see how the pads start fading in and filling up that high space. And we're trying to keep it around like this section of the sound. The bass needs to be much louder. It's just because the human ear requires bass frequencies to be at a higher energy for us to hear it. But some of like our hearing range works really, really well in this mid-range area. And so that's why like these frequencies don't need to be as powerful as these ones for us to hear it evenly. Okay, so but you see this pocket of space that we're filling in, right? So the pads are fitting in nicely. Let's put everything in. And then one cool trick we can do, we can actually fade in this bass pad. So that's where we kind of want to do, well, just to make it easier, we'll put another fab filter in here at the end. And we're going to do a high pass filter. And we're going to just make it so that we can automate this. So we just change the frequency there. And then click on here, we should be able to, there we go. And so like at this point where we might want it to fade out, you can use the filter to sort of fade out the bass pad. Okay, and then we could fade it back in at this part. Just so it's not so sudden. Especially where we put the kick drum, we don't want the kick and sub to play. So there we have we might have the build up. And here I added the mid basses. So I didn't talk about this in this part. I added mid basses, have them filtering back in now. And then now for this part, it's really important that on the pad bus, we go ahead and put in Kickstart again, or do your ducking with a compressor and the kick. So I think this is the last thing we'll talk about. So let me find Kickstart. And in this section, we want the pads to start being gated. Okay, just to kind of clear everything up, make room for the other elements of the mix. So we'll do a high chain. And again, automate this, automate the mix knob. Yeah, I think that's how we'll do it. We'll just automate the mix knob. So pad bus. So here the mix should be 100, and here it's going to be 0. Did I mess that up? No. No, I did the right. I soloed the wrong channel. Here we go. See how we got that nice pulse? Maybe make it a little bit shorter. So listen, if you guys have stuck around, okay, if this is your first trance project and you guys have made it this far, seriously, give yourself like a huge round of applause, because this is not the easiest thing in the world to do. This isn't something you just necessarily wake up one day and just decide like you're going to know how to do this. We're 40 tracks deep, guys. We're literally 40 tracks, and we still got more to add, okay? We're maybe halfway there as far as like what we could add into this track. But as you can hear, we have a really solid framework. So this is like the basis of a trance track, the point that we've reached, okay? It's these sound effects. We've got the pads going. We know where the track's going. We have build-ups. We have breakdowns. We have a nice chord climax section. And we could take the track anywhere, you know. And this pad break, this is where, if, you know, I should spend some time, develop a piano melody, and that melody could make a nice appearance right here in the pad break. So let's see if we can just come up with a nice little piano melody. Let's pull this up. So I apologize if this sucks, but I'm just going to jam and see what happens. So let's see. I think I'm going to do something like that. So I'm just playing octaves on the piano. But anyways, guys, so I don't want to torture you guys with some bad playing, but you see how we can really take the track literally anywhere. Maybe I'll spend a little time developing a melody with the piano, and I'm going to take a little bit of time to just maybe listen through to the track. Like, one thing we could do is maybe take, like, now we have an idea what kind of snare buildup we're using. We could definitely take this with the fill, and we could put this like in the beginning of the track. And here we also want to think of like these two loops. You know, the first one's sort of releasing tension, and then this one's going to build up tension. Okay. We can add that snare drum in there. again. So take some time, go through your track, see where we can add these snare buildups. Take a little bit of time, add a melody, maybe add a lead, like some kind of lead synth on top of the super saw. Keep layering. You could even do different pads for the breakdown. You could literally do like a big, huge breakdown pad and then bring in these other sort of saw pads and stuff. The options are endless. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I'll see you on the next video where we're probably going to take some time to do more like final effects, just like I was doing right now. Keep adding in fills. And I think we're also going to talk about acids at some point. I think we should consider maybe the next one, we're going to start adding acids onto this. And then we'll talk about doing like the final effects and fills. And we will also talk about adding plucks and leads in there. So I think that's the direction we're going to take this. Okay. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you.